Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. This is a November 15th, 2023 meeting of the Albany Regional Board of Review. The hearing is being held via video conference call, WebEx, at the following location. It's the New York State Department of State, One Commerce Plaza, 99 Washington Ave, conference room 1112 in Albany, New York, 12231. So the time is now 9:04 a.m. and the hearing is officially open. So the members of the board are Ms. Jackie Coons on the end here, Ms. Laura Ryder to my right, and Mr. Andy Ellis to my left. My name is David Abramo. I'm the chairman for today. And from the Department of State on WebEx is Mr. Chris Jensen. You can see him up there on the board. So we'll now hear the scheduled petitions. Please, when you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter those into the record. So today we have 5 cases to hear. We ask that everyone stay online until your case comes up. We go through them one at a time. And then we go on, we finalize each case individually, and then we move on to the next one. So the first petition that we're hearing today is a matter of petition number 2022-0603. The petitioner is Christian Brothers Academy. It has to do with rehearing the case, actually, and we're going to be discussing reopening the case if there's enough information here to reopen. There's been a request to reopen this case that we determined earlier when things got concluded. The petition does pertain to the construction of an air-supported dome. It's assembly occupancy A3. It's indoor sports without spectator seating. It's a construction type 2B. It's non-combustible, unprotected. It's a construction of a 1-story, 65 feet in height, containing 66,340 square feet in total gross area. It's known as the Christian Brothers Academy, located at 12 Airline Drive, Town of Colony, County of Albany, State of New York. So it has to do with, the petition has to do with reopening the case so that we can hear. There's been a request that they weren't able to meet a condition that was specified based on the variance that was granted prior. So at this time, I'll open it up to the petitioner. Do we have anyone that's representing CBA online?
Yes, this is Mark Anderson with GPI, Greenman Peterson, Inc. Our address is 80 Wolf Road, Albany, New York, 12205, apologize, Suite 600. And we're looking for relief on the smoke detection requirement that was previously included in the previous variance that we asked for relief on sprinklers, automatic sprinkler system within the dome. Under the same, very much the same conditions we have is the issue of mounting detectors in such a large structure, difficult to maintain, extremely difficult to mount and keep them protected from balls and things of that nature. We did look at other methods of providing smoke detection to meet that requirement. We looked at beam detection. However, due to the movement of the dome itself, they would not. The manufacturers would not provide any type of warranty or recommendation that their beam detectors would actually operate properly within those spaces due to the movement of the building. We also looked at a camera type smoke detection system that you would see like in chemical plants or large open spaces Again, color of the dome was an issue for the cameras to be able to distinguish between smoke and since the dome is white. Again, manufacturers would not provide any type of guarantee that their system would operate properly, as they originally were designed. So that kind of leads us to where we are today with asking for relief on smoke detection. We have manual activation of the fire alarm system at each exit. We have enunciation also throughout the dome. So we feel we can, since it's such a large, wide open space that a fire did occur while the building is occupied, it would be easily visible to the occupants, and they can initiate an alarm by pulling the station.
Great, thank you for that, Mr. Anderson, explanation. And just so to clarify, I don't think I actually mentioned, but they are seeking to reopen the case and seek relief from the condition number 3 of our previous determination.
That's correct.
Smoke detection. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, for today, my understanding is that what we're doing is the board is just reviewing if there's enough information to reopen the case. So today, all we're going to be reviewing is whether or not we can reopen it. And then next meeting in January, that's when we'll actually hear and can make a determination at that point. So today is just to see if we can reopen this. So any questions from the board at this time for Mr. Anderson? As far as reopening the case, any concerns?
Not so much with him. I have more of a, I guess, procedural question for us. It's like what are our requirements for reopening a case? Since we've never done that before.
Well, ask them as many questions as you want. We're going to take a vote on whether we should reopen the case or not. You could approve it or not, and it's up to the board on whether you have enough, information to rehear.
So I would just like to add one other item. One thing I failed to include in my little dissertation was we do have duct detection in the main heating and inflation unit that keeps the dome inflated in the return duct. So we do have some smoke detection, covering the building, but it's strictly, in the heating, ventilation, inflation unit. So, so we're not absent, 100% absent without smoke detection. So, and the code does require us to have that smoke detection in the in that air handling unit. So.
Okay.
The only other thing I would add, this is Craig Tripp, also with GPI, same company name and address as Mark. You guys should have in your file there from the submission, there's an email that came through from the town of Colony, from the building department. We've coordinated with them, and they're unable to attend this morning, but they did send an email that Barbara McLaughlin.
Yeah, I forwarded that to you guys.
They're in support of this reopening this.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we did receive that. I at least received that. I don't know if everyone on the board did, but
They
that
sent
did
it-
come through. Yeah.
They sent
we
it
saw
kind of
that.
late if you want to look at it.
Sure.
This is it. Sorry.
Yeah, so we have the email, Barbara just handed over the written email from them.
And similar also to when we were before you guys previously for the variances that we requested, this kind of follows suit with a lot of the same rationale with these types of structures, that this isn't, we're not looking for anything unusual that's not typically done for these types of things.
Yeah.
What does Ben's email mean when he says we've reviewed the proposed smoke detection system? Is that the duct detectors that you just mentioned? From Town of Colony, Ben Stevens?
Mark, I believe that's correct, right?
I believe that's correct.
I'm not versed in automatic smoke detection systems enough to know how many options are out there. But I mean, is there an adhered type system that you can adhere something to the membrane, or would that compromise the membrane?
The issue is they have to hang everything from the membrane. So like the lighting is hung from it. So I can't speak for the manufacturer, but based on how he does everything else, they have some sort of cabling between the layers of the structure. It allows them one to pull the wiring up and serve the lighting, but adhering to it, I don't think so. So they would have to hang from it, and that would just based on the size of the structure. We try not to put smoke detectors at 65-foot heights because it becomes an absolute maintenance issue for the end user to clean them and things of that nature.
And just the functionality of the system.
Yeah, the functionality of the system, it would be an extremely long period of time before smoke would actually reach something like that, standard smoke detector at that height.
The inherent nature of the structure itself, it moves. It's not a static building like a steel structure or something. So
Correct.
The systems don't function on a moving structure.
So what I'm hearing is that we can suspend electrical lighting and other items from the structure of the dome, whatever that is, cables or whatever is supporting that dome, but suspending the detection system is the issue.
That becomes an issue with the viability of hanging a say standard smoke detector when you're in a space where they're throwing balls and kicking balls and things of that nature, where they just become, in a sense, to become targets. My experience in gymnasiums doing schoolwork and college work is anything that's hanging, if it's not, it becomes a target for some of these guys.
Yeah.
So, and that would be an issue for us here, also. Plus, if I hang it from the structure, anything above it is no longer protected. So,
Sure.
that becomes an issue. I mean, that's why we looked at alternate methods such as beam detection and video type smoke detection. Those systems are a little more, certainly a lot more forgiving. I can cover large spaces such as this. However, with the movement of the building, the alignment of the detectors becomes an issue. We were going to design this if this was a static structure per se. With these type of beam detectors, that you would have a sending unit and a reflector plate, and the reflector plate can be fixed. But with the building moving, then it becomes out of alignment, and then we have, and then becomes an issue. Then you have to go back in and realign it every time, or you have these nuisance trouble conditions all the time. And then the system will be not operational at that point either. So.
Sure. Okay. Any concerns from the board as far as reopening the case goes? I guess we can, if there's enough information here, we can reopen it.
If we reopen it, I would like to see some of the correspondence regarding the manufacturers not approving these systems and devices. So
Sure.
There's kind of enough information here to agree to reopen it, but if we do, I would expect that those materials be submitted to support those statements that are in this letter from GPI.
I have a question. This is Laura on the board. How far along is the construction? Has it started?
Yeah, they're moving along out there. The bubble is up. They're they still have finishes on the interior. They're working on paving on the perimeter fire access road. Starting on that today, actually.
And has the actual structure deviated in any way from the plans that were submitted a year ago?
No.
Or so?
No.
Okay, so it's being built exactly as we saw the plans
Yep.
last.
Yes.
This is Andy from the board. From what I remember when we heard the case back in January, so that smoke detector that's in the ductwork and the return side,
Yes.
that's what triggers the collapsing of the dome? So if there's smoke in there, is that what starts the process of it dropping?
I don't believe so. I'd have to verify that with the dome manufacturer. But I believe the dome stays. We will shut that unit down, but there is another unit that helps maintain inflation as a backup.
Right.
Because you don't want the dome to come down if the building is occupied. So
Right. What we talked about in January was that, so there's not an automatic component to that system. What we were discussing in January was that it's the method that, because I think when we were talking at that point, we were talking about the fire access road and ladder trucks that would typically be used to get onto roofs of structures and things like that. And that this type of a structure, the way you fight a fire for this kind of a structure is you shut the equipment down and let it let it deflate and smother the flames. And there's eight points of egress, or 10 actually points of egress from this building that are well above the code required, egress for a building of similar size, more standard construction. And it's wide open, clear line of sight with considerably less distances to any exit from what code would require, again, for a similar building of standard construction. So if there were ever anything to happen, people would be out of it very quickly, and you could do what you had to do to turn things off and get things out.
Okay.
So how many poll stations are there? I know you said there's one at every entrance. Is that, I just hear there's probably 10.
that's
Is there a
correct.
possibility to add more poll stations if it deems necessary, or if that's something that we determine?
Or within the travel distance to them. We can provide plans to show you.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
So, I mean, I could share right now if you want to look at it, but
No, I think right now
I think that would be
I
helpful,
think it's just it would be helpful for if we do reopen this to see that and
Sure.
understand where those are located. For that matter, a complete
Okay.
fire protection plan, understanding where all the fire protection elements are within the unit
We
compared
have-
to.
yeah, we had that all on the same drawing. So
Okay.
That would-
go. Anything else? Anyone, any other questions? Deliberation, yeah. You guys need to deliberate on this one?
I don't think I need to deliberate just for the
Would
matter
you
of
like to talk
reopening it.
about it, Andy?
Mhm.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, just for a minute.
Okay. And let's, so at this time, what we'll do, and there's no one present, we already determined that from the building department online that wants to make a statement, or the Department of State regarding this case before we go into deliberation. Great. Okay, so then at this time, the way we usually run this is that we'll ask members a little bit of exercise. We have to get up and leave while we deliberate inside
I'm sorry.
the room. We can, let's go off the record. Thank you for with us. Thank you. Matter of petition number 2022-0603. There's been a request to reopen the case. That was from determination from prior. It has to do with seeking relief from condition number 3 of our previous determination. That's respect to automatic detection of fire alarm system in accordance with section 907.2.1.3 of the 2020 New York State Building Code. So at this time, the board is going to vote on whether or not reopening the case is adequate, and you've heard enough information. I think the board is going to request that that during that case, if it does get reopened here, that we vote on it, that more information, some more backup from the statements that's provided in this letter, as far as those detection systems that were investigated, be provided, as well as a plan. So just bring more materials to have that discussion and ready to go. So without further ado, let's, with regard to petition number 2022-0603, do I have a motion of the board to reopen this case?
Laura will make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Zandy, I'll second.
Great, so now I'll poll the board. Those in favor say yay, those opposed say nay. Mr. Ellis?
Yay.
Ms. Ryder?
Yay.
Ms. Coombs?
Yay.
And the chairman also say yay, that's 4 yeas, 0 nays, and the case can be reopened. Thank you, that's for being with us today, GPI online, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
I just have one quick question to.
Sure.
Would we forward the requested information to Daniel Farley or Farrell?
Yeah, we'll work with Dan, and Dan's not here today, but Mr. Jensen, we'll make sure that Dan understands what we're looking for as far as material goes, and make sure we get that in here, so it's ready to discuss.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's the usual. Paper copies should be sent to Barbara and copy Dan in, but we'll make sure it gets everywhere it needs to go.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Great. So let's just stay on the record and go right into the next case for the day. Give the board a few moments just to reorganize some paperwork. So the next hearing for today is in regard to petition number 2023-0430. Petitioner is Stay Saratoga. And what I'll do is I'll introduce the case that we see before us, and then I'll open it up for anyone in person or online that's regarding this case. Moment. So, petition pertains to the change of occupancy to the third floor of the existing residential occupancy. It's a group R1, it's a residential boarding house. The file for variance indicates it as a construction type 1B. However, we are going to review that during the case to make sure we have that correct. I would believe it might be something other than that. It is 3 stories in height. It's 4,701 square feet in gross floor area. It's known as Stay Saratoga. It's located at 198 South Broadway, the city of Saratoga Springs, county of Saratoga, state of New York. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the Building Code of New York State, Section 1006.3.2, which reads that each story shall have the minimum number of distinct exits as specified in Table 1006.3.2. Table 1006.3.2 reads that 2 exits are required from the third floor. The proposed third floor dwelling unit contains 1 interior exit stairway. So that opens the case. We have the exhibits that have been provided to the board in front of us. So at this time, I will open it up to the petitioner to present your case to the board. Who's here today?
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, board. My name is Mark Kokoza, Kokosa. I'm the attorney for Stay Saratoga. My address is 240 Washington Avenue Extension, Suite 504, Albany, New York, 12203. And I'm here today with, to my left is Mr. Stephen Chindamo, who's the owner-operator of the Stay Saratoga. and it's tough to see, but I also have Mr. Stephen Nakua, who is the engineer who developed the project plans for this third floor unit. By way of background, the current owners purchased this property about 8 years ago, and at the time it appeared that this third floor unit had been used in the past as a room, boarding room, but it hadn't in some time, so it basically sat dormant for the better part of 8 years. And then the owner operator, said, oh, maybe we can fix this up and make it back into a nice room, and began getting the plans done and swapping out some of the, fixtures and the old cabinetry. And of course, that's when we learned that there was no occupancy for the third floor. And the nature of the beast is that there's only one form of egress from the second floor. But when you look at this building, it's not exactly a typical building in the sense that, it's a house with standard house features to suppress fire. It has a hard-lined sprinkler system, throughout the building. It's got an increased insulation system in the third floor. It's got hard-lined fire detectors throughout the building. It's got the carbon monoxide detectors, and essentially the difference in travel for somebody on the third floor, because the third floor is basically just one room, would be approximately 18 feet further than from the second floor rooms, which would lead to approximately a 41-foot distance from the horizontal distance from the third floor out the exit. And we did look into, putting in a fire escape. The nature of the fire escape, though, would then require, it'd probably be more unsafe. You'd have to go out the window down 4 feet to a landing, then traverse another 22 feet before going down to another landing, which is another 11 feet down, then traversing another 6 to 8 feet, and then traversing down another 11 feet to the ground level. So the core issue is we are looking for the variance from the third floor requirement of 2 egress points because of the additional safety measures that are in place.
Okay. Great. So at this time, let's open up to the board. Any questions for the commissioners, please?
This is Laura on the board. My question for you is, I noticed that the plans you gave us are only for the third floor, so I'm curious, once you get down to the bottom of the stair, the plan said that there was a fire-rated door at the bottom of the stair, which I presume that is the entry door to this room.
Third floor.
What are the conditions from there on out to the exits? Are we in a fire-rated corridor? Are there 2 stairs down from the second to the first, or is there still only the 1 stair down from the second to the first? Having had entire plans of the building would have been super helpful.
So once you reach the hallway to the second floor, you would go down a short hallway that's approximately 6 feet long, and then 1 stairwell out the front door.
Okay, so this stair is not stacked on another one, so that you have to go down the hall first and then go down another stair.
Correct. It's a short hall, but you have to go down a very short hall and then turn a corner.
Okay. Is it a fire-rated hall? And do all the room doors, are they all fire-rated doors with self-closers?
Yes. Mr. Chico.
Yes, hello. So all the doors open up to the same, so there's 3 rooms. The numbers of the rooms are that are 23 and 25. Those are the current rooms, and the new room is number 24. So it was 23 and 25, and the other door, which leads up to the third floor, they all open up so close to each other. As soon as you get up to the steps, straight ahead is 25, to the left is 23, and then just looking over your shoulder is 24. So they all come down to a very wide hallway, and then the stairs are right there.
But are the doors fire rated? Is it the
Oh, the
question?
doors, all the doors are fire rated, and the sprinkler system is in all the hallways and in all the rooms everywhere. It's inspected every year, and it's in all the hallways. All the doors are fire rated for sure.
And Mr. Nakua just confirmed with me that the hallway is fire rated as well.
And do the doors have self-closers on them?
Yes.
Can I just clarify something? It's been noted as a type 1B building. I don't think that's correct. What type of construction is this? 1B would be non-combustible construction, which means concrete or steel usually. This is a wood structure, is that correct?
It should be a type 5. This is Christopher Jensen.
Okay, it should be a type 5. I saw it as a brick structure. That's probably why I put 1B.
Would it not be then a 3B? Are the walls solid brick, or is it a brick veneer over a wood frame structure?
It's brick veneer on a wood frame structure, and the building's approximately 100 years old.
Okay.
It's a Victorian mansion in Saratoga.
It would be type 5 that you have frame buildings. I don't know if that changes any.
No, it doesn't. I just want to make sure we're all clarifying
Yeah.
that we understand that what good construction we're dealing with. So leave it as a type 5B structure.
And this is Laura from the board again. You mentioned there was a 41-foot travel distance, so that is from the farthest point, like in the bathroom of the third floor, down the stair, down the second floor hole, down the stair again, and literally out to the exterior. That's the 41 feet.
I measured the 41 feet from the top riser of the third floor stair. I think the bathroom actually wouldn't be the furthest part. It would just be the back of the room, which would add on probably 15 feet.
Okay.
The entire square footage of the third floor is only 330 square feet, including the bathroom.
This is Jackie from the board. On the floor plan, there's a light vent chart, but it doesn't indicate if the two windows are egress compliant windows. Are they egress compliant based on the vent square footage? It would appear that they are, but can you confirm that they are 5.7 square feet in opening?
All right. I've got Mr. Steve Nakua, the engineer, who's got the answer for that.
Yes, the windows, both windows on both ends of the building, the room, meet the minimum square footage of egress.
Thank you.
And they're both clear.
So explain to us the status of the construction at this point. You've already installed the room on the attic floor. Is it occupied? Are you using it?
No, the room is not occupied. The status is that the renovation, the room was already existing, and it looks like it was done probably 30 years ago. So essentially, the fixtures got swapped out for new fixtures, and the cabinetry got swapped out for new cabinetry, and some flooring was put down. There's still a bit of construction that would have to go, and I'd say at least 35% more construction would need to be done.
It appears on your website that the room is advertised as available.
Is it? No, it's closed.
It mentions a third floor room, the King something suite.
The Victorian King Suite is not that room.
There's
that
three
room.
different
There's another-
structures on
Okay,
this one
there's
site.
another third floor?
There's 3 different buildings. There's a motel, there's another building, and then there's this building. And they're all labeled as the same address, but it's really 3 different buildings.
Understood, but it doesn't appear that the other 2 buildings have a third floor. Do they?
Does it say third floor on the website?
I thought
Is
it
it the
said third floor.
Victorian King Suite?
Is it the Victorian King
I don't
Suite? is what
remember
she's
the name.
speaking of.
The
have to
Victorian
look it up
King
again.
Suite is on the second floor.
No, I thought there was
That's
something.
1.5.
Find that out.
This is Andy from the board. Was this room being rented prior to the renovation?
It was rented for one night, and that's when we found out that it wasn't occupiable.
So it has been rented since.
It has not been rented since.
Full building plans of the building, a little bit easier, nicer. Any other questions we have right now? We'll go up to others next comment. From the board.
I'm good.
Yeah, I don't have any particular questions right now.
Jackie, you got anything?
Not right now.
Is anyone present or online that, from the city or from the building department that would like to comment on this case? We do have a few present in person here, so why don't we go around the room, state your name and for the record.
Sure. My name is Patrick Kogan. I'm the zoning and building inspector for the city of Saratoga Springs. Address is 474 Broadway, Suite 32, Saratoga Springs, New York, 12866.
I'm Jack Donnelly, Code Administrator, City of Saratoga Springs. Same address as Patrick, 474 Broadway, Suite 5A, City of Saratoga Springs.
Anybody else in the room present for this
I'm
case?
Captain Jordan from the Saratoga Springs Fire Department. I'm also a code enforcement official. I run the Office of Fire Prevention for the city. Address is 60 Lake Avenue, Saratoga Springs, New York, 12866.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Yourdon.
Thank you.
Anybody else present?
Lisa Watkins, I'm the code administrator assistant, same address as Patrick Hogan and Jack Donnelly.
Did you get all that from the code, for on record?
Yeah, if she could state her last name one more time, please.
Watkins, Watkins.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go around the room. If you're present here for a reason, so why don't we open that up?
Okay. This is Patrick Kogan. I'd like to comment on a couple of things on this application. The first is that the applicant maintains that this room was finished prior to their ownership of the premises. We have no evidence of that being true. We inspect this property annually. The fire department inspects this property annually and has no record whatsoever of any finished space on the third floor of this building. The most recent building permit involving this particular building was in 1996-97. at which time the attic was unfinished, uninhabitable, unconditioned. There was question of the construction type of the building. At the time of the permit in 1996 and 97, the code analysis had the building as a type 4B construction, which under the book was, or under the Green Book was ordinary construction, which would translate to type 3B under current code construction classifications. And the permit was, code analysis and the permit was carried out as that type of construction in the building. Also limited to a 2-story building for the code justification provided at the permit, which was the original conversion of this previous dwelling to 4 rentable sleeping units. This property is the subject of an active enforcement case by the city of Saratoga Springs for the conversion of this 3rd floor space without permit or necessary approvals. We first became aware of the construction taking place in this unit in April of 2023. A notice of violation was served in April of 2023. Notice of violation is quite clear that the room is not to be inhabited. The rental of that unit took place after receipt of the notice of violation, and construction continued after receipt of that notice of violation. The applicant submitted a building permit application beginning in May of 2023. We met with the applicant at least 3 times to explain additional information that was required with the plan submission in order for us to accept the building permit application. We did eventually accept the building permit application, and upon review, we rejected that permit application for basically a lack of information provided in order to determine code compliance, and also for the obvious issue of there being only one means of egress from the story. So I don't want it to be represented as that being the only issue that would prevent them from obtaining a permit for this space. There are many concerns that the building department has about whether this space is potentially habitable or not. There are issues with the height, the available headroom in the space that have not been demonstrated to be code compliant. They haven't demonstrated that their wall, floor, ceiling finishes are appropriate for this type of occupancy and construction. They haven't demonstrated that there's adequate fire separation between the 2nd floor units and the proposed 3rd floor unit. And basically there's been no code justification provided for the change of occupancy of this space from an S2 or an accessory storage occupancy of this attic space to an R1 sleeping unit. To clarify some of the questions about the existing means of egress from this space, an occupant would actually have to travel down exit access stairway to reach the 2nd floor. So you don't enter a protected exit until you leave this unit at the landing on the second floor and then enter what was constructed as an interior exit stairway from the second floor to discharge to the exterior. So the existing rooms on the second floor also access that interior exit stairway. Code justification used at the time to permit one exit from this building was limited to 2 stories in height. There are chimneys going through this space that we believe are servicing working fireplaces. There's been no information provided about how clearance to combustibles are compliant for those chimneys. Here's some of the construction is directly up against those chimneys. So it's fair for me to say, you know, I don't want to speak directly for the other members of the Saratoga Springs team that are here, but we are strongly in opposition of granting of this variance. Myself, you know, as the head building inspector, I would never be comfortable putting my name on a certificate of occupancy for this space.
Is it because of the egress issues or because of everything else? Or maybe
The totality of the circumstances. There's already many areas of this room that would need to be uncovered for us to determine code compliance due to the construction that's already taken place and finishes already installed. The complaint that we did receive about the person who rented this room after the notice of violation was served is that you can't get into the bathroom without hitting your head. We don't have sufficient information on the drawings to determine exactly what those clearances are, but they do appear to be inadequate, or we suspect that the headroom is inadequate. So I'm obviously here for any other questions you may have, but would just like to be on record that City of Saratoga Springs code enforcement officials are strongly opposed to this.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like there's a bunch of other things going on as well. Today we're going to be reviewing the egress. I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. Obviously, the space would also have to comply with everything else as well. So anyone else that would like to make comment today?
Jack Donnelly, code administrator. The only thing I'd like to add is for the board is I have the email complaint if you'd like to see that from the person who rented it for the 3 days. And then also that make note that we have the owner in court right now. The case is pending. We have it adjourned until December. We're holding off, giving them a chance, variance piece, but we'll be moving forward in December. And in total agreement with Patrick, we're not for this at all.
I would love to see the email.
Yeah, why don't
I
we
think it's
enter
fair
that?
to submit that.
Yes.
Exhibit that we'll enter into the exhibit.
Is that, is this okay for me to keep, or?
Sure.
Or you could send me a copy, or?
You can keep it.
You guys.
Yeah, let's take a look at it, pass it out. Okay. So while we're looking at that,
I don't know if it's in your materials, but as part of the code enforcement official questionnaire, I also provided a copy of the previous CO from 1997 and copies of the notices of violation that have been served on the property.
So the material that we do receive is usually from the petitioner, just so you know. If you guys ever wanna send stuff to us, you're welcome to, by mail, email. But I'm gonna keep that for the file.
So like I said, I think to help focus, there's a lot of things to unravel in what you just stated. And I think to help focus hearing for today, and everyone, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would like to stay focused on what the variance that we're addressing today. And it has to do with the egress. Among everything else you stated, clearly that has to be addressed. It has to be understood. So the board today is looking at the egress facts, and we're going to stick to having questions regarding that. Regardless of what happens today, we got to make sure everything else is taken care of. So with that regards, I do have questions. Is that, has there been investigation or what's been done to provide a second means of egress from that third floor space? It says, it was stated that it's not possible. Why isn't it possible? Why can't we provide that egress?
Okay. Well, just to go back one step, I feel a bit blindsided by the city of Saratoga because they were the department that indicated we can't deal with, C, D, and E until we deal with the egress issue. And they were the ones who suggested go to the board and start with the variance, and then we can tackle these other issues. But with respect to the secondary form of egress, it's essentially one room, 330 square feet. Now, as I mentioned before, we did look into scaffolding for a fire escape, but then that would require an unsafe condition of going down out the window to a slanted roof, traversing the slanted roof for 22 feet, down 11 feet, traversing another several feet, and then down another 11 feet on a fire escape.
Why not build an adequate structure to provide the proper egress? Can that be done?
Well, in essence, are you suggesting, why not build a second stairwell?
Yeah, that's what code's telling you to do, if that's what you need for that space.
Then we would literally have one stairwell sitting next to another stairwell, which, would then, I guess it would meet the code, but it would be kind of silly as well that you've got two stairwells sitting next to each other just for the purposes of the same egress.
Okay, yeah.
As the AHJ, that would not meet code, that you don't provide for the remoteness of those two exits. So that's not really a valid argument.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Constructing a second set of stairs directly adjacent to the other set of stairs would not provide the code required remoteness of those two exits. So that would not be a compliant suggestion.
With the size of the room, though, I think it would technically be compliant.
They would need to be separated.
And that's why I said, but I think what's getting lost is the fact that you've essentially got a room that's about 17 feet by 17 feet, give or take. A second stairwell isn't going to get you any closer to the exit than the first stairwell will.
Even traverse outside the window or space to an exterior stairwell.
Correct. Under the hypothetical, the second stairwell is not going to provide any increased safety because it's going to be the same distance no matter what.
I guess the point of the second stairwell is so people don't get trapped up in the attic, right? So that you have a way out in multiple directions. And so
even if it's longer.
Yeah, it could be longer, but you wouldn't construct it immediately adjacent. It would be constructed outside a window or outside of another way of egress to get out of that space. Someone up in that space is trapped up there if there's a fire going up to that stairwell. That's a single stairwell. Given this occupancy, I'm asking if there was a way to, or why isn't there a way to provide that second means of egress?
And that's why I was talking about the scaffolding fire escape system, which would require a huge mechanism to basically wrap around the building and go down 2 floors and then convert and then end up out at the back of the building.
Okay.
Which would probably be inherently less safe than just going down the stairs, even if there was a fire.
This is Jackie from the board, and I don't know if this is a question for the applicant or for the Saratoga representatives, but is there some type of geographical reason why a new exterior stairway couldn't be created at the other end of the space from the current stairwell? Like a enclosed exit type of structure where that one window is? Are they right on the property line? Is it like,
No, there's
talk about the fire escape, but why not just a regular exit stairway?
Because the exit stairway would lead to the rooms below it.
No, I'm saying directly to the exterior, a stairway from this space down to grade level with the door directly to the exterior, not through the building. Is there a reason why on the end of the building, an exit enclosure addition couldn't be created? Is the building on the property line with the adjacent property? Are you restricted by some type of geographical feature down there? Do you know from Saratoga? Are they on the property line? Do they have control over that space?
There's no geographical or topographical constraints. There is a property line a short distance away from the rear of this building. The property line runs adjacent to the side of the building and then juts in behind the building. There would be room to construct that exterior stairwell to the south of the building, which would be to the right of it.
Would that still be remote enough from the existing stairway?
That would be remote enough, yes.
Okay.
The existing stairway is on basically the northwest corner of the.
So on the opposite side of the space, in addition to the structure, could be created for the purpose of an exit enclosure?
It's definitely theoretically possible.
Or an open exterior stair? That too, I mean, if it was protected, if it was built maybe with non-combustible, or it's gotta be lit in accordance with the egress codes too, but it's not like they're in the middle of the city and they're right on the property line and they can't control what's going on around them, correct?
Correct.
This is Andy from the board. Without having some sort of floor plans for the other floors, I'm trying to get a visual of this third story. Is there, there's no even indication where the windows are.
Yes, sir.
Is there a roof right underneath the windows, or is it, at 17 by 17, that means that this thing is probably in the middle of the building? Is it favoring one side or the other?
Yeah, can you point us to it?
Because it's really hard to, so if the building is 4,700 square feet, and let's round it up and say this is 400, that makes the first floor and second floor about 2,100 square feet. So where is this, is there a two-story drop out the window? Because Google Maps doesn't, there's too many trees around it.
Okay, then I refer you, with respect to the windows, I refer you to Exhibit B1.
Okay.
Which shows the east window. And I think one is misnomered. One's an east window, one's the west window.
Y'all are looking at it too. They're looking at it.
Yeah, can you said Exhibit B.
It's stapled backwards. 2 is on top of 1.
So that's the space. That's the space on the third floor.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So our question is, if one of those windows were turned into a door,
It would have to be that one, because then
preferably-
it wouldn't be
right,
remote.
Preferably the
Correct.
one you're circling
Yeah.
right now, that would
That
be
one.
remote
And
enough.
Saratoga says it could be.
Once you get out that window,
What's up?
what's below? Yeah.
A slanted roof for the second floor.
Okay,
So can you construct?
you can
Could
construct
you
landings over
construct-
that.
yeah,
I've
could you
seen
construct landings over that?
exit stairs traverse roofs before, it's not impossible.
Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible?
Is that to make a fire escape? Are you saying?
Yeah, well,
Well, a fire
Well, or
stair.
an actual exit enclosure,
yeah, an enclosure.
So
not
is that-
just a fire escape. Fire escapes aren't real.
Enclosed? What if it
That's
was
the
a
window.
That's the window right near the stair, right?
Yes.
That's the slanted roof that's on the
Right, so
Okay,
does
so
the slanted
You can
roof also
put
happen
one
on the other
on
side?
this side, down in this corner, because that's, he's
Does-
talking right here, and that's the slanted roof that.
Is there also a slanted roof on the other side though?
No.
In between the buildings?
No, there's a open
They have a
patio
little
between
ramp
the
here.
two buildings.
Okay.
So that's the window that we're talking about that would,
That's what he's
That
talking
top
about.
one.
right. Could that one be made into an exit stair?
It's gonna be tough because it's gonna block the windows on the second floor.
Yeah.
I was just speaking with Mr. Nakuit, and as we look at the photograph, a stairwell is gonna end up blocking the windows on the second floor, at least one of them.
An enclosed stairwell?
No, I don't think.
So
Circular stairwell down. Is there a door down at the bottom? No. There's a door directly down at the bottom.
There are two doors. Room 21 and 22.
So my question, this is Andy from the board, that window that we were just looking at over the top of that first story roof, that's the window that's the farthest.
That's the
From
north
the-
side of the building, along the slanted roof. There's another window on the south side.
Which would be this one where the stairwell is?
The stairwell that you're pointing at, that's the north side, that's where the sloped roof is below it.
Okay, so
It'd
on
be
the other side.
the window on the other side.
This
that-
is the window we were just looking at, to clarify.
Yes.
Okay.
In those two buildings is a small courtyard that's actually used for the egress, first floor sleeping.
Okay.
So has that been investigated, looking into how to construct a means of egress out of that window? Has that been looked into?
What I think we're worried about, and we can certainly investigate it. I think what we'd end up having to do would be a circular stairwell coming out of that room, exposed circular stairwell, and then check to see if it would block any egress from the first floor rooms. I guess the one thing we didn't think about is whether or not a circular stairwell could work. And I don't know if that would be up to code. New circular fire escape.
Circular fire. So the going into the courtyard, not by the lower
So,
Right.
is Andy on board?
secondary.
One second.
Just one comment. This is Captain York from the fire department. This space, as it exists illegally. There is nothing in the city record that has ever been CO'd for someone to occupy it as a sleeping space. And we're here to discuss egress and whether or not we can do a variance for egress. Perhaps the reason that it has never been CO'd as a sleeping space is because of that. It's on a third level, and we can look at it. Perhaps there's not a pathway there. And the whole issue, I mean, as far as from the fire department's concerned, as far as people being able to escape that area, that's already in question. As far as the city's lodging license, there's only record that there's 4 units, so we wouldn't even know that there was anybody in that space. So I just think that should be under consideration right now. I mean, we can look at it, but the code might not allow a path to be able to get what we need out of it.
And we understand that, but there's no sense in going forward with the other path unless we get the variance, because it wouldn't make sense. If there's no variance, there is no room.
Or you find a path if there's a way of doing it. I think what I'm hearing is that there's possibly not a path, but there may be, because it doesn't seem like it was completely investigated. It was, let's go get a variance to see if we can just disregard coming up with a path versus, well, we could do it, but it may cost money, but we don't know what that cost would be. We don't know if there is a path, an adequate way through to traverse, to build something to allow that path, to allow the space in the attic floor as regards to the egress.
And I appreciate what you're saying. Appreciate what you're saying, and now I see, a spiral stairwell can't be used as the means of egress. So we're back to square one of trying to, it's an impossible fire escape to construct at this point now.
The distance from 23.
So my question is, I got 2. So you guys do a fire inspection safety annually? Yes. So in the previous year, 2023, there was no record of this room?
Never documented as a dwelling space
or
a sleeping area. It was documented as an attic.
Yeah.
And they were directed to label the attic, the door that accesses the attic.
Okay.
But there's no record that I have found that it's ever been used as a sleeping space and licensed by the city. It's not one of the 4 units that's approved for that building.
My other question is, the second story units only have 1 egress, is that what I'm understanding? Correct. And that was a variance back in 1998, or that was a?
That did not require a variance in 1998, or 1997.
Okay.
That fit under
4B.
The Green Book code analysis for, they met one of the exemption conditions for only having 1 egress. But one of the pieces of that condition was limited to 2-story buildings. So by adding a 3rd story, they're invalidating
the second
story exemption that allowed them to have only 1 exit from the 2nd story.
I have a question for either the owner or the city, whoever may know the answer. We're told the building is fully sprinklered. Does anyone know, is that a type NFPA 13 or 13R sprinkler?
It's fully sprinkled, and even the small hallway from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor is completely sprinkled. I think I heard before that it wasn't. It absolutely is. It's completely sprinkled. And when I talked to the fire inspector, I always thought that if there was no need for another form of egress, because there is a very good sprinkler system throughout the third floor and throughout every single hallway, especially the one that opens up on the second floor, which is very close to rooms 23 and 25. There is the entrance right there. It's a very short distance up to that third floor. And if you're in the bedroom of either 23 or 25, it's the same distance to that common hallway from the bedroom or the furthest point of what's being called the third floor, which actually begins on the second floor.
That still doesn't answer if it's a 13R or 13. If it's a 13, all the concealed spaces are going to be sprinkled also. You're talking about sprinkling the means of egress.
Right.
Do you know what your sprinkler system is certified as?
It's certified, it's every year a sprinkler.
So top notch is not a way that you certify a sprinkler system. It's a 13, a 13R or a 13D. It's not a 13D because this is not a 1 or 2 family dwelling. Is it a 13 or a 13R?
I'm not sure. I think you have to go.
It's whatever was required.
It's
What
what?
about does the city
The
know?
city knows.
Yeah, at the time in 1997, it was certified as a NFPA 13 light hazard, which would now, in an NFPA 13, be equivalent to 13R.
Thank you. So the concealed spaces are not sprinkled because it is not a 13 system. It is equivalent to a 13R, which protects the means of egress, but it does not protect the concealed inaccessible void spaces on the third floor.
That's correct.
4 rows of sprinklers on the third floor.
The exhibit that was, I believe, was submitted by State Saratoga from Above and Beyond regarding the sprinkler system.
Yeah,
Everyone
I
received
think
that.
we have that.
We found that to be totally inadequate as far as any comment on this.
I
If
agree.
that was just a vacant attic space used for storage, all that they said was that it appears the system will be adequate for the new room on the third floor. But this is going back to whenever the system was first installed, and there's not been a proper evaluation of the space, whether or not that truly is the appropriate coverage.
That's what I was asked for when I was applying for the permit. They asked me to get a document from the inspection company that shows that there is adequate coverage. They came, they looked, and that's the letter they wrote. I did exactly what the city told me to do.
We asked
They
for
asked me
design
a
professionals
few
to
things
evaluate
to
the
do.
sprinkler system for adequacy.
They made me come back 3 different times when I was applying for the permit. They made me get inspections. They made me get three different times they asked me to get things. And the 4th time I went, it was approved and signed, and I gave a check and all that, and then I was waiting for about 7 weeks. I was told that I wasn't even in a queue yet. And the way the city works is that it could take forever to get a permit in the city. It takes so long to get a permit. I know a person across the street from me who opened up a hair salon. After a year, he still didn't get his permit, opened up the hair salon, and then the city came and did a photo op, and then finally they said to him, okay, here's your permit, after a year. They made me get, there was doors on what I use as a gym right now, that were built in 1987. They made me get a permit for that. I applied for the permit for doors that were there for 15 years before I ever even walked in the door. They made me get a permit for that. Guess what? That was about 6 years ago. I still have not received the permit for that. I still have
That,
not.
unfortunately, I'm gonna stop you right there. That is not something that this board can really deal with. I mean, any kind of, local issues, you should be taken up with the local people. Let's just stay focused on this issue, please.
Thank you.
I have one more
My point is
question.
that they're against me.
I have one more question. Is the stair that gets you from the second floor to the first floor, was that newly constructed and is that enclosed? Like is it a fire rated stair or is it an open stair? Like the original stair in the house?
It's an original open stair to the third floor.
I meant from the second floor down. So once you said you know, all three rooms, you've got 2 rooms on the second floor, you've got the third floor coming down to a short 6-foot hallway on the second floor, that's what you told us. And then you enter the stair that brings you down to the first floor. Is that
Correct.
stair enclosed or is that open?
Yes, it's enclosed.
Okay,
Okay.
the city's
Closed and fire
considering that an exit
It's inside the
at
building.
that point.
Correct. That's where the interior exit stairway begins, and it wasn't
Right.
closed as part of the 1997
Okay,
permit.
and fire rated?
Mhm.
Okay,
Up to that point, you're considering it exit access from the second floor.
From third floor to
The
second floor.
is exit
Exit
access,
access, yes.
then it's exit from second floor to first floor.
Correct. Which is all information that should be provided on the permit application and to your materials here today.
Okay. Any other questions on the board for this case?
I have no more questions at this time.
I'm good.
I don't have any other questions. So at this time, I think we've heard everyone. Only other person, Department of State, is anyone on that would like to make comment? Great. Then why don't we, at this time, the board has the information here, we can, we'll need to go into deliberation on this one. We'll ask that everyone do leave the room. While we do that, let's go off the record.
Off the record.
Just confirm, are we on the record?
Annette?
We are on the record, yes.
Thank you very much. All right. I do see that we still have the petitioner online, so thank you for being with us and bearing with us. So the board went through and deliberated this matter of petition. Hold on, let's go through just to record what we got here. I lost my sheet. Board, thank you. So this is coming out of recess, the matter petition number 2023-0430. It's regarding the building known as Stay Saratoga. It's located at 198 South Broadway, City of Saratoga, in the County of Saratoga, New York. So the board went through deliberation, and at this time, from the materials that we have, we feel that the petitioner has not demonstrated or provided enough material or criteria to provide or grant a variance regarding the proposed section that they're asking for. Through discussion during our case, we looked at possibly using the exit window as a means of egress, and other things have come up during the case that has demonstrated that this very well could be possible to meet the letter of the code, but there's not enough information here to really for the board to make a decision on the proposed variance. What we're going to do is we look at you petitioners is to know that we can adjourn this case to allow you time to provide, to investigate all that information, to take what we've discussed today under understanding, and then to come up with a plan and present to the board more information regarding floor plans. The second floor plan is missing, more photos. And then alternatives, if you're asking for the variance, what is the alternative that you're actually proposing? For example, what is that? This here. The reason for an application for your variance, there's 5 items that you could check. You've checked off number 4, 5, and 6. Number 4 demonstrates would be physically or legally impractical. I don't think that's been demonstrated today. Number 5 says would be unnecessary in light of alternatives, which without a loss in the level of safety achieve the intended objective of the code. That has not been demonstrated today. And then number 6 says would entail a change so slight as to produce an additional benefit pursuant to the proposed code. So those items we don't feel like have been demonstrated. We can vote to adjourn this case. However, if the petitioner would like the board to vote on that case, to come up with a decision, we certainly could make the decisions today, but you would understand the way it would go. So I will invite you, the petitioners, to make comment at this point.
I think at this point, we would be requesting the adjournment so we can get you more information.
Okay. So the board, we feel comfortable adjourning this case at this time. Okay. So at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to make a motion of adjournment. And we just do ask that we come, if you come back for the same variance, to make sure that all this information is demonstrated. We'd actually suggest getting an architect on board if you're not already talking to an architect. Someone who knows the code well, someone who can actually get through this very well as keep working with the city. It's really important that everything else that's come up today be addressed as well. Of course, we're very focused on the variance that's been demonstrated. So anything else from the board that we need to discuss? Did I miss today?
No, just, I think, again, the lack of demonstration, like, there's no proof, we feel there's not adequate information to prove that there can't be a second means of egress. And so I think we would want that to be explored. Either you're proving it can't be, or you'll find a way and then this variance goes away. And then you'll just deal with the city on all the other issues that are there. But, we just feel like it hasn't really been explored thoroughly. Nor have, any other alternatives to, like, the fact that the building's already sprinklered is great, but that's not a special thing that you've done to make this any safer. You know what I'm saying? So the way the variance process works is you're asked to provide alternatives that make it safer, and so we just don't have enough information to find that is the case.
Or the third option is to reapply for a different variance, like the circular stairway for a space greater than 250 square feet, instead of just saying not having a second means of egress for section 106.32.
Understood.
But that would entail a new application. We
Of
couldn't
course.
just change this application if you choose to seek relief from the new code.
Can I ask that a time frame be put on the adjournment so that there's an action in this case? Because otherwise our court case is held up until there is an action on this matter.
Barbara or Chris?
Yeah.
Scheduling wise?
2 months, so it would be January.
January is our next.
Do you know what your date is scheduled for January? I'm sorry.
Yep, give me 1 second.
January. By then, the pipes will freeze.
Yep, so Albany is, it's gonna be January 17th.
Okay, great.
Any other questions before we conclude the case?
Would they take plans of the fire escape?
Any other questions from the petitioners before we conclude?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. So at this time regarding, where's the petition? 40, I know where it is. All right, here we go. Regarding petition number 2023-0430, the board would like to make a motion of adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Zandy, I'll make a motion.
Great, do I have a second?
Laura will second.
Great, I'll now pull the board for the adjournment. Mr. Ellis?
Yay.
Ms. Ryder?
Yay.
Ms. Coons?
Yay.
The chairman, I also say yay, that's 4 yeas, that's 0 nays, and the case is now adjourned. Thank you very much for everyone being here. Please do have a lot more information here for us so we can look at this if this comes back. Thank you for everyone from the city for being with us today and explaining the case to us. It actually was very helpful. A lot of information came from you as well, so appreciate it. Let's go off the record.
We're off the record.
Was that on the record? Sorry.
You.
Okay.
Yes, you're on the record.
Thank you. So we're on to case number 3 for the day. It has to do with petition number 2023-0332. Petitioner is Mr. Ashraf Daly. Petition pertains to an existing building containing a group R2 occupancy, 3 stories in height, of type 5B, wood frame unprotected construction. It's located at 1001 Union Street, City of Schenectady, County of Schenectady, State of New York. And relief is being requested from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York. Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, cellar ceilings, which states that in every such dwelling 3 stories or more in height, the ceiling of the cellar or the lowest story, there be no cellar, shall be fire retardant or be equipped with a sprinkler system unless such ceiling has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. The petitioner is requesting relief from the requirement that a fire retardant ceiling or sprinkler system be provided in the cellar of the ceiling. Great, so that introduces the building. I will now open it up to petitioner online. Please make sure you state your name for the record and your address, and then you can present your case to the court board. Thank you.
Good morning, board members. Very pleased to appear before you today to plead my case. My name is Ashraf Gali. My address is 855 Union Street, Schenectady, New York, 12308. I own the building at 1001 Union Street for 23 years, and I operated this building since I acquired it in the year of 2000. Never ever cited, never ever ticketed, never ever violated, and always passed inspection. Whenever a tenant moves in, I have to obtain a certificate of occupancy from the city of Schenectady, and I have been doing so for the past 23 years for a total probably maybe 70 or 80 times for the 5 apartments, never ever failed an inspection. This wasn't the case with the inspection that was done back in May, when I was told that I'm in violation with section 30 regarding the cellar ceiling. And I asked about the reasons, and I was told what the chair just mentioned in the beginning of his introduction regarding the sprinkler system. I provided with my application photos of the cellar and all the utilities extended from the ceiling of the cellar, in addition to detailed planned of all the smoke detectors and CO detectors in every floor of the building. At the onset, I must acknowledge Mr. Ricardo Kapoor, the inspector of the city of Schenectady, who told me that applying for a variance is a possibility, and he also mentioned that the city would be happy to help me understand exactly what is needed to make my application successful. That said, I must acknowledge Mr. Dan Farley, who was very helpful in giving me all the information related to how I should apply and the information that the committee may be asking for, in addition to what would be needed in order to make this variance application successful. With that being said, I provided the photos that are shown in the 2 exhibits with my application. Exhibit 1 including 4 photos. Exhibit 2 includes 3 photos that basically shows the very extensive network of utilities, including pipelines such as water, sewer, gas, heat lines, in addition to the wires and the cables for phone, internet, TV, and electric. The room where there is a potential source of fire, which is the room where the boiler, the heating boiler, is located, and the water heater, it's totally confined. It is entirely made of brick and stone, and it has a fire door, and its ceiling is fire retarded. And this is the only location in the cellar where there is a potential source for fire. I must also mention that The cellar is not accessible from anywhere inside the building itself. It has a separate door from the outside, from the backyard, and there is no way to get into the cellar from within the building itself. In addition, all the doors, the front doors, the entrance to the building, in addition to all the doors of the 5 apartments, are self-closing. Every one of the 5 apartments is provided with 2 smoke detectors and 1 CO detector. The smoke detectors are the 10-year long detectors, the Teddy brand, and they are 3 years old. And the same can be said about every one of the 5 apartments. With regard to the common area on every floor, there is also a smoke detector. That's also in addition to the smoke detector and the CO detector that exist in the cellar. I guess with what I just said, I covered every aspect related to how this building is protected and has been protected for the many years I owned and operated the building. There has never ever been any kind of issue or any kind of problem related to fire or violation to the code as understood by me until I was told there was some kind of violation back in May. And the reason I'm here, obviously, is number one, it is very important for me to make sure that the building is protected and is also in compliance with the code. And number two, to make sure that my tenants are always safe and are not subjected to any potential harm. I was advised by Mr. Farley to try to get quotes for how a sprinkler system, much it would cost. There are 3 local companies. I contacted all 3 of them. 2 of them never answered. I left the detailed messages. They never got back to me. These 2 companies are SRI and Davis Ulmer. The only company that a human answered the phone was the secretary of Candor. And after she heard everything I wanted to say, she told me, you probably will never hear back from us because we don't do these kind of small projects, and most of our projects are commercial. So I tried my best to get somebody to come and give me an estimate. Unfortunately, I was unsuccessful. I was told that my second best option, and this was information given by Mr. Farley himself, in addition to Mr. Kapoor, the 2 of them said that my second best option is the interconnected wireless combo detectors. And I also investigated this. I was told by Mr. Kapoor I would need 1 in every apartment, in addition to 1 in the cellar, in addition to 1 on every common area in every floor. And I investigated this, and there is definitely a possibility for this kind of solution as detailed by Mr. Kapoor and as suggested by Mr. Farley. I guess that's everything I wanted to say. I thank you very much for listening. More than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, very nice. Thank you for that summary.
Thank you.
Great, so yeah, at this time what we'll do is open it up to the board to ask any questions that we have for the petitioner. Board members?
This is Andy from the board. You mentioned that all the doors in the building are self-closing. Are any of them fire rated?
I do not believe so.
Okay. And this is Andy from the board again. There's nothing in the basement for the tenants, no laundry, no storage or anything like that?
Impossible for me to allow anybody to get into this basement because obviously it's so crowded with utilities. Even those that request that I keep something, for example, I had a tenant who wanted to store the bike of his little son. I told him, if you want to do that, I will do it for you, put it down, and whenever you need it, I will get it up for you. But nobody is allowed to step a foot into this place other than me and the city inspector when they come to inspect the building.
Okay.
This is Laura from the board. Your description says that the door on the mechanical room in the basement is compliant with code. So what does that mean? Does that mean is it self-closing?
Yes.
Is it fire rated?
It is fire rated and self-closing and very, very tight. In addition to the fact that there is a lock on the outside that will keep it very tight and in continuous attachment with the frame of the door itself, which means if there is, for example, which is a very, very, very extreme remote possibility, if there is any kind of negative pressure on anything that would suck the door out, the door will be just fixed to its frame.
That's the door into the basement?
No, the
No.
mechanical.
No, that's the door to the boiler room.
So this is Laura from the board again, just to be clear, so have you already put in a wireless system or are you proposing to do that?
No, I have it because obviously there is no point in doing anything without receiving the green light from the committee, because if I do something like that, then the committee doesn't give me the green light, then it will not obviously be a practical way of doing business.
Okay.
But what I was hoping for, also, basically, because the units, the KD units, the two units that I have in every apartment, smoke detectors in addition to the CO detector, they are very effective and very good. And one of the things that I have noticed over the years of operating this building, which has been really very long period of time, it's almost a quarter of a century, is no matter how good or no matter how functional the unit is, whenever a tenant feels that this unit is bothering them when they smoke, when they cook, when they do anything, they will just disable it. And I'm not sure how the wireless system works, and I'm not sure if any one of them is disabled, the entire system will be disabled, so I don't know about that. So I was hoping that the committee would allow me to maintain the separate units in every apartment and have the wireless system that is connected to each other in the common areas of every floor and obviously the cellar. This was something that I discussed with Mr. Farley, and he said you can bring this to the attention of the committee. The committee, he said the committee may agree with your argument, the committee may not agree with your argument, but it's something you can raise with the committee. This was his reaction to my concern regarding tenants who disable units.
Okay, so this is Laura on the board. So again, just to be clear, so you're proposing that you would prefer to have the interconnected units in the common areas only, not in each individual apartment.
There are
minimize
two reasons for that. I'm sorry for interrupting you. The two good reasons for that is the ceiling in the common area is very, very high. It is not reachable without a ladder. In comparison to the ceiling in the apartment where you can just reach it if you stand on a high chair. That's number one. Number two, it will not bother tenants very much if there is a loud sound in the common area, which basically means nobody will be bothered by a sound that is very easily reachable to them. Then they can disconnect it or damage it or throw it away or disable it. The issue is also important in the summer. In the summer, for example, when the air is humid, these detectors can actually get triggered only because somebody is boiling some water or is cooking. This will not be the case, obviously, in the common area on the staircase. I'm just sharing my thoughts. I'm not suggesting that the committee agrees with everything I am saying. I'm just sharing my thoughts based on my 23 years of experience operating this building.
Thank you. Are the existing alarms, are those hardwired?
No, they are not. They are standalone with 10-year battery life, and the oldest of which is 3 years old.
Any other questions from the board members?
This is Laura on the board. Just to clarify, on the floor plans that you provided, all the devices say CO, which to us means carbon monoxide. So
Yes.
are there smoke detectors too, or?
I'm sorry, not all of them say CO. There are ones that say CO2. There are 2 in every apartment, and there is one that says CO. So this is the case in every single apartment on my plans.
And what does the CO2 mean?
The CO2 means carbon dioxide. That's the smoke detector. CO2 is carbon dioxide, CO is carbon monoxide. LR,
Okay.
LR stands for living room, BR
Yes.
stands for bedroom.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I have no further questions.
Anybody else on the board? Is there anyone from the building department, the building code enforcement official online that would like to make comment?
Yes, good morning. This is Ricardo Kapoor, City of Schenectady. No comment. I believe Mr. Galley has covered everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody from the Department of State that would like to make any comment?
No. Chris?
No. All right. Great. So at this time, let's go to deliberation.
Okay.
And we'll go to deliberation. Let's just ask that everyone stay online. The board will be connect back in when we're ready to conclude the case. So at this time, let's go off the record.
We're on the record.
Thank you. So coming out of recess in the matter of petition number 2023-0332. The petition is regarding the residents at 1001 at Union Street, the city of Schenectady, state of New York. The board has deliberated, and at this time, what the board is going to propose, and what's typical with these similar MLS cases, is that that the detectors inside the building be replaced, and it's a wireless interconnected system throughout the building, and that system will allow the variance for section 30. And so part of that is, you'll notice when we get through the conditions, is that that system also needs to be inspected on an annual basis and to make sure it's continuously working. So you'll notice that what you'll do is at the end of this, after we conclude the case, you'll end up getting a summary of the conditions to meet the requirements, and that'll spell that out, what we're just describing here. So regarding petition number 2023-0332, Relief is being requested from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, the Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, the cellar ceilings. The board makes the following findings. Number one, the building that is the subject of the petition is properly classified under Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 1, Section 433 as a multiple dwelling. Finding number two is the subject building is approximately 3,576 square feet in gross area and was originally constructed around 1930. Finding number three, the subject building is required to conform with the provisions of Article 3 of the Multiple Residence Law as provided in Section 25, in that it existed on January 1st, 1952, or was converted to a multiple dwelling after July 1st, 1952. It is not a hotel or similar dwelling subject to Article 4 of the Multiple Residence Law. Finding number four, Article 3, Section 30 of the Multiple Residence Law requires an ever such dwelling 3 stories or more in height. The ceiling of the cellar or of the lowest story, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retarded or be equipped with a sprinkler system, unless such ceiling has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. Finding number five, the lowest story, the cellar ceiling of this multiple family dwelling is not fully enclosed with fire retardant material and does not contain a sprinkler system. However, the applicant has indicated that the location of the boiler and hot water heater is a fully enclosed room within the basement that has sheetrock on its walls and ceiling. A fire in the cellar could easily spread throughout the building before it is noticed. There is mechanical system piping, electrical wiring along the ceiling of the unoccupied cellar, which would make installing a fire retardant ceiling very difficult. Finding number six, as an alternative to compliance with Article 3, Section 30 of the Multiple Residence Law, the applicant has proposed to install a wireless interconnected smoke and carbon monoxide detection system interconnected from the basement to each unit individually and would provide early warning in the event of a fire-related emergency. Finding number seven is that all doors into the basement feed the exterior. There is no door into the basement that feeds the interior. Finding number eight, all doors are self-closing within the complex. Finding number nine, there is no public access to the basement. Finding number 10, the code enforcement official of the city of Schenectady was present during the hearing and has verbalized their support for the variance. This concludes the findings. Furthermore, that the proposed variance will not substantially adversely affect the law's provisions for health, safety, and security. Strict compliance would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, or would otherwise be unwarranted, because such would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss of level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the law. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, B, and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. That, number one, that the proposed interconnected smoke and carbon monoxide detectors be provided and located throughout the building as required by current code. Number two, that the property owner shall hire a third-party independent code certified inspection agency to test the alarm system annually at a minimum and shall submit inspection results to the City of Schenectady Building Department. Inspection reports shall be left on site and be readily available for inspection. Number three, that all the smoke detector alarms shall be interconnected together in conformance with NFPA 72 and may be wirelessly interconnected devices. And number four, that any entrance door and every door opening into any entrance hall, stair hall, or other public hall connected therewithin shall be self-closing. This concludes the conditions. Do I have a motion from the board?
Laura, I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I'll help. Thank you. And I'll pull the board. Mr. Ellis?
Yay.
Ms. Ryder?
Yay.
Ms. Coons?
Yay.
The chair also says yay. That's 4 yeas, 0 nays. And the variance is now granted. Furthermore, The decision is limited to the specific building and application before it, as contained within the petition, and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. That concludes this hearing. Thank you very much, Mr. Gale. Any questions from the board?
May I ask one question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So according to what I heard from you, there will be a combo system in every apartment in addition to the common area. Is this correct?
That's correct. Yes, we would. Yeah, we're gonna require that for this system. Yes.
Very good. Do I have a time frame to complete this job? Because I will be out of the country for 1 full month starting 10 days from now. How long am I given to comply with this?
Yeah.
Talk to your local code official.
Okay, very good. I would want to see
contact
Mr. Kapoor. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the work of the committee and the manner in which you conduct the business with us, the public. I very, very much appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm okay going right into it. Is everyone else okay?
Yes.
We have 2 more for the day, so let's get into this 4th one. So let's just make sure we have the petitioner still online. Ms. Kate Davis. Do I see? Yes, I see.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you for being with us. Bear with us. We'll introduce the case and then we'll open it up for you to discuss. So this for the 4th petition of the day, it pertains to petition number 2023-0426. The petition pertains to an existing building containing an R2 occupancy, 3 stories in height, of type 3B, ordinary unprotected construction. It's located at 120 DeGraff Street, City of Schenectady, County of Schenectady, State of New York. Relief is being requested from Chapter 61-B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, the cellar ceilings, which states that in every such dwelling 3 stories or more in height, the ceiling of the cellar or of the lowest story, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retardant or be equipped with a sprinkler system, unless such ceiling has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. The petitioner is requesting relief from the requirement of that a fire retardant ceiling or sprinkler system be provided in the cellar of this dwelling. Relief is also being requested from Chapter 61-B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, the Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 31, inside cellar stairs, which states that every stair leading from the cellar to the floor above in all old multiple dwellings shall be enclosed with a fire retardant partitions and shall be equipped with a fire retardant self-closing door located at the department as the department may approve. The petitioner is requesting relief not to provide a fire retardant partition in the cellar stairs. At this time now, I'll open it up for the petitioner to present your case to the board. Please again state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. This is Kate Davis, 6 Smith Street, West Hempstead, New York, 11552. I am an off-premise landlord in Schenectady. The building I purchased right before pandemic has 3 rental units and a full basement. The way the building is set up, there's a full staircase in the front of the building that runs from the 1st to the 3rd floor, and a full staircase in the back of the building that runs from the basement to the attic. The city had told me to install smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. There are 4 smoke detectors on every floor, as well as a carbon monoxide and smoke detector in the kitchen on every floor, as well as 2 in the basement and 2 in the attic. Mary Lou Padone had done my inspections. She had requested the money for the inspections back in December, I mailed her the check. She cashed it in March. I was not aware the inspections had not been done until I needed a rental certificate for a tenant that is now 10 months behind in her rent. I'm evicting 2 tenants in the building. Funds are very short. I'm keeping up with all maintenance in the building. However, I don't have the funds to put an entire firewall in the basement ceiling. I did contact a sprinkler company, and they said they would have to upgrade the main water, and that could be as much as 5,000, as well as a sprinkler system could be 5,000. I really don't have a spare $10,000 to do this right now. I would prefer to put a wireless smoke alarm system from the basement through the attic and have it monitored on a regular basis.
Great. Okay.
That was the suggestion of Mary Lou Padone. I don't know if she's here today. I was not notified to contact her regarding such. So I don't know if I was supposed to notify her, if she was notified and chose not to be here. I
am here.
Oh, she is here.
I am. I sent you a text saying our meeting was next. Yes.
Oh, I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was just surprised that everybody else had their building inspector. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Okay, so each unit is about 800 square feet. The whole building is about 4,000 square feet. The building was constructed in 1900.
Okay. I'll open it up to the board at this time for any questions or comments.
I'm going to skip to first what I think might be an easier question to answer based on the information we have here. Usually we ask about the whether the stair that goes down into the basement from the rest of the house, the rest of the building, is enclosed with a fire rated door at either the top or the bottom. What can you tell us
It
there?
has a lockable door. The door is not kept locked as the tenants have access to the laundry in the basement.
Okay. Is that door at the top of the basement stair or the bottom?
It's at the top of the basement steps.
Does it have a self-closing device on it so that it?
Yes, it does, but it's wood. I don't know if it's fire rated. The basement ceiling is open, and I don't know if you've received the pictures from Mr. Farrelly that I had sent him. I have many exposed pipes and wires that I am constantly changing every time there's a leak or a short. We're changing the wires out throughout the building so they're accessible. And in the units in the bathrooms, there's drop ceilings, so the tiles in the drop ceilings are fire retardant.
Okay. This is Jackie from the board. Do the tenants have access to that attic area that you mentioned? The back stairway goes from the basement up to the attic, and that's
only the
walk-up
third
type
floor
attic?
tenant. The third floor tenant has the ability to lock off the attic, so he keeps the attic locked off.
So if you're going to the attic, you have to go up that back stairway until you get to the third floor tenant, and then he has the ability to lock off the attic space?
Well, once I'm up on the third floor, I can open it.
But if you're going up that staircase stops at the third floor tenant space, and then the access to the attic is controlled from there?
No, the staircase continues, but there's doors. It's the,
So
it's a single,
you could lock, sorry, go ahead.
it's a single staircase from the basement to the attic, one stairwell, but at each floor of the first floor to the basement and from the third floor to the attic, there's a locking door.
So you've chosen to give your third floor tenant access to the attic for storage purposes?
No. He's not storing, and each unit has a rear porch for their own storage unit. He doesn't store anything. He's the acting property manager. So he's just chosen to lock the door for me. And if I should need my handyman to get up for any reason, he would have access, as his furnace system is in the attic.
Okay, so you can access the attic stair without going through the third floor apartment. You access it from the stairwell.
Right. There's a gallery on the back of the building, an enclosed porch system behind each apartment. Each unit can exit and or enter through the rear or front of the building. Each unit has a front door and a back door to their unit, and they can exit and enter safely. And they have keys to the building, back and front. So should there be an emergency, every tenant has 2 exits.
But if one of those doors into those stairways is open, they all have self-closing hinges?
Not on each
or
floor. No, there's no self-closing doors on each floor. The building was built in 1900. The stairwell is open, but from the first floor to the basement has a locking door, and from the third floor to the attic has a locking door.
Understood. Right. So I think what Jackie's asking is, right, so do the apartment entry doors from the back stair have any kind of self-closing mechanism, or no?
The apartment.
if you have a fire and someone leaves an apartment and they leave that door open to the stairwell, that door stays open and the stairwell is open from the basement all the way up to the attic door.
I would have to check each door. The building is old. Each time I need a door replaced or repaired, I get a story from the handyman that the building is old. I'm not sure. I think the newer doors, I do think, close in the building.
And those are in the front stairwell or the back stairwell?
In the front stairwell, there's new doors.
And
In
that's
back-
the stairwell that's only the apartments. It doesn't serve the basement or the attic.
Right. The front stairwell just goes to the second and third floor apartments.
Right, because the first floor, you just enter an entry door. So that first floor doesn't even use the door into the common stairway.
Correct. Now, the doors are weighted such that they do close behind, but
And that is that you talking about that in the front stairwell or the rear stairwell?
and in the rear, they're very heavy old doors, so they do pull closed by weight.
Okay, so they probably have some closing hinges.
Just make it required.
Yes, we should. Okay.
So-
And is your current, this is Laura on the board again, is your current smoke detection hardwired or battery operated?
Battery operated.
Okay.
In fact, I had all units dated 21 in the building, and when Mary Lou visited, she said she couldn't read the dates. And I had just been there, and I knew the date said 21, but I didn't want to argue, so I gave the current handyman $300 to go out and buy all new units for the building back in July. So we have brand new units since July.
And they're not interconnected units?
No, they're regular ones because nobody mentioned this at the time. It wasn't until after the inspection was done that I was told this.
May I interrupt? It's Mary Lou, Code Enforcement.
Yeah, please do.
I explained to Ms. Davis that an interconnected system may be part of the determination after the board, but I didn't want to tell her to put it in ahead of time.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
I don't have any. No, I'm good.
Okay, I think, any other comments? Ms. Pannone, anything from you? Building code?
No, not at this time.
Great. Davis, at this time, what we'll do is we'll go into deliberation. The board will leave and we'll come back and we'll conclude this hearing. So thank you for your time today. And give us a moment, we'll be back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's call for record.
We're on the record.
Thank you. We're coming out of recess. The matter petition number 2023-0426 regarding the residents at 120 DeGraff Street in the city of Schenectady, county of Schenectady, state of New York. So the board has deliberated on this. I wanted to explain to Ms. Davis some of the requirements and conditions of granting this variance if we do so. And we'll go through each one just so you make sure you understand them. But the main condition, and we've reviewed very similar cases just like this many times now for the same variance request. And it requires, and what we like to do is, what we need to do is wireless interconnected detectors throughout the building. And what that does is it provides early warning if there was something in the basement were to happen. In lieu of a rated ceiling, the detector would go off and notify the remaining building and tenants in that building because they're interconnected. So that would be a requirement of and a condition of this variance. That requires an annual inspection every year because they would be battery operated in this case. It's also by code to have annual inspections on those detectors to make sure they're still communicating properly and working properly. Also, a part of this is that any entrance door and door opening into any entrance hall, stair hall, and other public hall have self-closing hinges. So make sure that those are self-closing. And then the next one would be that the basement door should be self-closing as well as fire rated. So those are the main conditions of this variance. Any questions for us before we conclude?
I have a couple questions. This is Mary Lou, Code Enforcement of the City of Schenectady. Are you asking for third-party inspections as well?
The annual inspection, yeah, it would be a third-party certified inspection that would be done annually on these alarms. And then those records, I'll make sure that I'll go through those conditions very discreetly again when we go through this. But yeah, that would be an inspection report we left on site and also provided to the city.
Okay, and would you include purchasing UL tested alarms, or would that come from us?
I don't know that answer. I think the standard alarm would have to be UL tested per code.
I think that's when we say part of per code, that's part of it being UL listed.
Okay.
Yeah, the alarms would have to meet code requirements. Yep.
Okay, I wanted to be clear because a lot of online alarms that are being sold now are not UL tested.
Yeah, I think that's why the code says they have.
Okay.
That's good to
Because I
know.
went through this with pool alarms and anything plugged in to the building systems have to be UL, but when it's wireless, it doesn't. So check the code, Mary Lou, and see if it says UL or not specific in that section on alarms, because I found out that the pool alarms are not UL because they're battery operated.
Good enough. Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, so wireless system won't be UL, correct? It'll be battery operated?
Whatever the code says.
No, they're two separate things. UL is just like an agency that rates products to meet certain standards. So you can get a wireless or a hardwired system that meets the UL requirements and is UL listed. So they're two separate things. So wireless just means that there's not actually hard wiring running through your walls and your ceiling. It's operating off batteries and it's communicating wirelessly.
Okay. Great. Any other questions, comments before we conclude the case?
No.
Anybody from the board? Good. Okay. So in regards to petition number 2023-0426, the board makes the following findings. Number one, that the building that is the subject of the petition is properly classified under Chapter 6.1-B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 1, Section 433, as a multiple dwelling. Finding number two, the subject building is approximately 3,249 square feet in gross area and was originally constructed in 1900. Finding number three, the subject building is required to conform with the provisions of Article 3 of the Multiple Residence Law as provided in Section 25, and that it existed on July 1st, 1952, or was converted to a multiple dwelling after July 1st, 1952, and is not a hotel or similar dwelling subject to Article 4 of the Multiple Residence Law. Finding number four, Article 3, Section 30 of the Multiple Residence Law requires an ever such dwelling 3 stories or more in height. The ceiling of the cellar or of the lowest story, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retardant, or be equipped with a sprinkler system, unless such ceiling has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the apartment. Finding number five, the lowest story cellar ceiling of a multiple family dwelling is not enclosed with fire retardant material and does not contain a sprinkler system. The fire in the cellar could easily spread throughout the building before it is noticed. There is mechanical system piping, electrical wiring along the ceiling of this unoccupied cellar, which would make installing a fire retardant ceiling very difficult. Finding number six is an alternative to compliance with Article 3, Section 30 of the Multiple Residence Law. The applicant has proposed to install a wireless interconnected smoke and carbon monoxide detection alarm system interconnected from the basement to each unit individually, and it would provide early warning in the event of a fire-related emergency. Finding number seven, the Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 31, requires that stairs leading from a cellar to the floor above be enclosed with fire retardant partitions and equipped with fire retardant self-closing door. And the stairway that leads to the basement is not enclosed in fire-rated construction. Finding number eight, the door into the basement is self-closing, you're told. Finding number nine, the door into the basement is wood and not fire-rated. Finding number 10, the tenants have access to the laundry in the basement. And finding number 11, the code enforcement official for the city of Schenectady was present during the hearing and verbalized their support for this variance. Finding number 12, the front stairwell, we understand, accesses the first and second floor levels, while the rear stairwell accesses basement with a door at the top of the basement stair. The rear stairwell is open above that door, provides access to each level of the building. And finding number 13 is that the current smoke detection system is battery operated and not interconnected. This concludes the findings. The proposed variance will not substantially adversely affect the law's provisions for health, safety, and security. Strict compliance would entail practical difficulties and necessary hardship. or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss in the level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the law. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30 and 31, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Condition number one is that the proposed interconnected wireless smoke and carbon monoxide detectors be provided and located throughout the building as required by current code. Those alarms shall meet current code requirements. Number two, that the property owner shall hire a third-party independent code-certified inspection agency to test the alarm system annually at a minimum, and shall submit inspection results to the City of Schenectady Building Department. Inspection reports shall also be left on site and be readily available for inspection. Number three, that all the smoke detector alarms shall be interconnected together in conformance with NFPA 72 and may be wirelessly interconnected devices. Finding number four, that any entrance door and every door opening into any entrance hall, stair hall, or other public hall connected therewithin shall be self-closing. And condition number five, these are all conditions. I don't know if I've been saying findings, but these are all conditions. Number five is that the door into the basement shall be self-closing and fire rated. Do I have a motion from the board?
This is Andy, make a motion.
Great, do I have a second?
This is Laura, I'll second.
Great, I will poll the board now. Those in favor say yay, those opposed say nay. Mr. Ellis?
Yay.
Mr. Wright?
Yay.
Ms. Coombs?
Yay.
The chair also say yay. That's 4 yeas, 0 nays, and the proposed variance is now granted. Furthermore, this decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. This concludes that hearing, the case for today. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Davis, Ms. Pannone, and let's go off the record.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Off the record. We're on the record.
Thank you. Last but not least, we are on to petition number 5 for the day. Petition number 2023-0476. It's regarding, pertains to an existing building containing R2 occupancy, 3 stories in height. It's type 3B, ordinary unprotected construction. It's located at 1104 Union Street, City of Schenectady, County of Schenectady, State of New York. Relief is requested from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, the Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, cellar ceilings. The petition is requesting relief from the requirement that a fire-rated ceiling or sprinkler system be provided in the cellar of the dwelling. Relief is also requested from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, the Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 31, inside the cellar stairs. Petitioner is requesting relief to not provide a fire-rated petition into the cellar stairs. Great, so at this time, we will open it up for petitioner. Why don't you state your name and address for record?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anthony Reyes. I represent RF Investment LLC. I am the CEO and chairman of the company. Our billing address is 15 Wicks Path, Cormac, New York, Long Island.
Great. And then I'll open up to you to present your case to the board.
So we, back in early 2021, we have purchased, October 2021, we first purchased 1104 Union Street. At the time, we did receive rental certificates. This was not brought up at the time. Just a few months ago, went for, again, complying with laws, additional rental certificates for the new tenants. They said, hey, Anthony, this is something that came up. You have to obey by it. And we're here asking the board to please grant us an alternative option instead of just doing quarter-8 sheetrock along the basement. It would be pretty much impossible because of the piping, electrical. as well as painting it with fireproof repellent painting. We currently do have smoke detectors interconnected throughout the whole building. We do have 2 doors. One that leads onto the basement that is metal, fire repellent, which is located in one of the pictures. We apologize that there are so many of them, but
No, I'd have more pictures, I appreciate it.
as you can see on the picture that I'm holding here, you'll have that evidence as well. This is the inside the basement looking to the door. This is the outside. As when tenants go downstairs, this is the outside of the metal. It currently now does have a self-closing hinge in case somebody leaves it open, all right? We also do have another door, which is along the mechanicals. At the time, there was no door. Today, there is a hinge and the door is on the frame of the door. And same thing, it is a fire repellent door, just like the one that leads from the first floor to the basement. So that, to my understanding, and we hope that you can agree with us, by providing those 2 type of doors, it would provide the minimum acceptable requirements.
Great. So the existing detection system in the building, is that, you said that was interconnected, it's hardwired or wireless?
Hardwired, right?
It's hardwired.
And it's already interconnected
That is correct.
everywhere.
Yes, and then this is proof. We also did receive it like 2 years ago when we first bought the building. We received our rental certificates. We wouldn't have passed otherwise. But again, this is all just recently. All of our buildings are being had to do this. Most likely for the record, I'll see you guys soon. There are some rental certificates for other buildings that we currently own that we have the same issue.
Great, thank you for being us and presenting your case. Thanks for all the photos. Very helpful. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, just if you guys could just, help us and, with us providing the minimum that is allowable by law, we would appreciate it. As some of my fellow owners of buildings have mentioned, some of these companies don't call us. Some of these companies charge a tremendous amount of money. I was quoted upwards of $12,000 because the size of the building. And as you can see, some of the mechanicals, wires, there's a lot of work that needs to happen just to achieve that. It would just cause financial hardship, especially in the time that tenants decide that they don't want to pay.
So you've got 3 dwelling units on the first floor, 3 on the second, and one
in
the attic?
In the attic, that is correct. And this property was built prior to this law coming out, early 1900s.
And then the exits from all those apartments all go to the front door,
There's 2. There's one to the front door and
And
one
the
to the back door, correct.
and the basement door goes to that
To-
stairway
To the stairway that you can either
in the
5
back.
feet away, go to the back, which is the parking lot, or you could go around about 30-foot corridor leads you to the front.
The tenants do not go down in the basement?
They do.
They
They do go. We do have a
Looks very
dryer.
clean for them.
I'm sorry.
Looks very clean for having tenants down there.
What I meant that they do for washer and dryer. We do have, as you can see in this picture here, this is the messy area because that's their clothes and their soap and stuff.
Okay. Do they have access to the mechanical room or no?
No.
That's locked.
No, well, the door is there now. One of the pictures is represented of the mechanical room. I'll show it to you now. Which is also happens to be enclosed. This picture is just to show the enclosement. The hole clearly is where the door exit goes. And voila, this is the door. And then this is the door that was not put on it, but it's a metal fire repellent door that currently is hinged in with a self closing spring.
Okay.
This is Ricardo with Code Enforcement, City of Schenectady. I have a question.
Please, thank you. You may.
So Anthony, you're saying the interconnected are there right now, or did you put those in after our inspection?
No, they were there. We haven't touched it. We did test it, and it did work.
Because at my inspection, I did not see any interconnected.
When can we schedule another one? Perhaps we can meet at the property.
I have pictures here for the inspection, and there was no interconnected smoke in the basement. They might be in the apartment, but there is none in the basement. Did you put them in afterwards, or were they there, or did we miss them?
So currently, we do have them. Could have been perhaps that when you met management, that's when they installed them perhaps. But currently, from what I know, they're installed right now.
And they are interconnected?
That is correct, sir.
So that
All right.
if there's a fire in the basement, all apartments will be notified.
Correct. Similar situations like the ones we had in the past buildings when we came in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo.
As a requirement and condition, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we'll require that the city come out and do an inspection of the interconnected system to make sure that everyone's in agreement that that's working properly.
And we also have the requirement for it annual.
Correct. Yeah, we'll also have the requirement for annual testing of the system. The existing apartments, into hallways and entrance, those are self-closing as well, the doors?
Yes. Can I ask a question? So when we purchase these buildings, we gotta go through lawyers and all these other things. So we normally do get letters from like the zoning, making sure that there's no violations, no anything from the building, so we don't take on any headaches. Can we just request that things like this going forward be part of when we go to zoning, so they can take a look at prior inspections? The reason I say this is because us as the buyers, sometimes we may be put in a situation where we might have to be forced to install sprinkler systems or anything else that might be of a lot of money. So that kind of puts us at a disadvantage when purchasing things. This, knowing this ahead of time, like in this letter here, which you guys have, will give us guidance, say, hey, might be zoning for this, it's 7 units, there are no, there's nothing that's wrong with the building, or there is something, you don't have this, you don't have that. Financially, I think that would be better for purchases and for sales. It just puts us in a disadvantage, because now after purchase, we have to spend more money if needed.
It's a tricky one, because this basement issue has been on the code books since like the 50s or 60s, but we've adopted other codes since then. And it's often forgotten by municipalities, and it's kind of like, everyone's paying attention to the newer code and
there's a newer code, that's why we're here, or is it the old one?
This is still in effect. This is from the multiple residence law, which is the MRL listed here. And sometimes, events happen that remind municipalities that, hey, we need to enforce this because, there have been some bad fires, usually was what happens. And, it's a tough one. Certainly, it's something that realtors don't really know about, and
or if another thing, if you're granted in the beginning what we're seeking, somehow we get a brick wall seeking for the same items. In this case, a rental certificate. I understand we comply. That's not an issue.
Sure, right.
We always comply with anything. But if it's given once, why hit a road jam? Why hit a roadblock?
I understand your frustration, and I think, it's an issue at the local level because it's, we only hear cases that come to us for variances, so.
Just in case you have.
So Schenectady, you hear that?
I mean, for my municipality, I do these letters all the time, and they do exactly what I would do. There are no known zoning or building code violations. It's because we don't go out and inspect them every time we get requested to do a letter like this for a letter.
If I request for this, then I get hit with a building violation.
And you know, I could go out and I could inspect your building, and then one of my inspectors could go out and inspect your building, and we might come up with different things,
And we should
because
be in uniform.
even though it is the same code, like, it's just the power of observation. If the same person inspects the building for 30 years and he retires and a new inspector comes in and finds something, it doesn't mean it was okay that that guy didn't find that stuff.
Yeah,
It means that now some other guy found it, and
Right.
now you gotta deal with it, because now it's been pointed out.
This is not speaking ill or anything, it's just
I know,
observation,
it's an imperfect system. We
just
get it.
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%.
Until AI takes over the job of all
Yeah,
code
that's all.
enforcement
That's gonna be a lot.
officers.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, and then regarding this specific variance for this, you know, each case is a little bit unique in their own. We can't just blatantly say that it applies everywhere either. Like, each building is its individual, so we have to look at one individually. So.
And the local municipality, even though we've been issuing the same types of variances to all these buildings in Schenectady, the local code enforcement doesn't have the ability to override the state building code, so they have to bring every case to us. Even though the result is the
That's gonna be
same.
a lot from Schenectady City.
There have already been a lot from Schenectady, and there will be more,
You know,
yes,
addicts or.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Right, so unfortunately, they can't just say, well, if you put in an interconnected smoke alarm, you're good to go, because they don't have the ability to vary from that multiple residence law requirement of either a plastered ceiling or a sprinkled basement, you know.
Would can the state make a recommendation perhaps to add that into these type of letters for purchasing? You know, it gives leverage to purchases, I'm being honest.
The state doesn't regulate those
I
letters.
know, unfortunately, it's really all.
The state can make it a recommendation eventually that the code be amended, and then that issue goes away. But these letters are just, each one is unique to different lenders, and it's based on what the lenders ask to know about the property on behalf of their clients.
Yeah.
Just one good thing that comes out of this, that you know now, looking at a building.
Right.
Yeah.
But nothing prevents
You know,
you from contacting the municipality personally and saying, hey, I wanna know, do you have?
No, we actually just did it, I mean, contract to buy 3 more buildings, 10 units plus, in Schenectady, so, I mean.
I wish people would do that, just contact us directly, and not wait till after.
No, you know, for all means, Ricardo and his staff and, you know, Mr. Farley, they're great. We have a relationship,
Yep.
you know, they come to our buildings. We're not at war, I'm not at war with anybody, I'm not in the business of that.
And that's your advantage.
You know,
Yeah.
they're a helpful tool, just as you
Yeah.
guys are here.
Right.
Maybe eventually the state will change something. For now, Schenectady has to work with what they've got.
Understood, and then they're great, you know, again, I'm not speaking ill of anybody.
Right, and now you know,
And
unfortunately.
they might just be catching up on years of stuff that was missed. Eventually it'll all get caught up, and then you'll buy something and someone else will have already gone through this process.
Yeah. Doing it for.
Right. All right, I have
Are
no
you
further
good?
questions.
Mhm.
No, I'm good.
Anybody else? Anybody online that has any questions for this specific
No
case?
questions, all set.
Report? Thank you. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Report. We appreciate you taking the time. So I think, did we deliberate on this one, or are we okay with it?
I don't need to. I
Or-
think he's answered
good?
our questions.
We won't make you leave this room.
No, thank you.
One more time. For your own case, we'll let you sit here.
I would have to leave too, even with my own case?
Yes, you would.
Wow.
Yeah, we do it privately. So. Okay, well then, and we'll just jump right into it. So this regarding petition number 2023-0476, and regarding the petition pertains to an existing building located at 1104 Union Street, City of Schenectady, County of Schenectady, State of New York. And the petitioner is requesting relief from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, regarding the cellar ceilings. And he's also requesting relief from Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 31, the inside cellar ceilings. The board makes the following findings. Finding number 1, that the building that is the subject of this petition is properly classified under Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 1, Section 433, as a multiple dwelling. Finding number 2, the subject building is approximately 4,141 square feet, gross square area, and was originally constructed in 1900. Finding number 3, the subject building is required to conform with the provisions of Article 3 of the Multiple Residence Law as provided in Section 25, in that it existed on July 1st, 1952, or was converted to a multiple dwelling after July 1st, 1952. It is not a hotel or similar dwelling, subject to Article 4 of the Multiple Residence Law. Finding number 4, Article 3, Section 30 of the Multiple Residence Law requires in every such dwelling 3 stories or more in height. The ceiling of the cellar or of the lowest story, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retardant or be equipped with a sprinkler system unless such ceiling has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. Finding number 5, the lowest story, the cellar ceiling of this multiple family dwelling is not enclosed with fire retardant material and does not contain a sprinkler system. A fire in the cellar could easily spread throughout the building before it is noticed. There is a mechanical system piping and electrical wiring along the ceiling of this unoccupied cellar, which would make installing a fire retardant ceiling very difficult. Finding number 6, as an alternative to compliance with Article 3, Section 30 of the Multiple Residence Law, the applicant has installed a hardwired interconnected smoke and carbon monoxide detection alarm system interconnected from the basement to each unit individually, and it would provide early warning in the event of a fire-related emergency. Finding number 7, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 31 requires that stairs leading from the cellar to the floor above the enclosed, or from the cellar to the floor above be enclosed with fire retardant partitions and equipped with a fire-rated self-closing door. The stairway that leads to the basement is not enclosed with fire-rated construction. Finding number 8, the door into the basement is fire-rated and it is self-closing. And finding number 9, the code enforcement official for the city of Schenectady was present during the hearing and verbalized your support for the variance. This concludes the findings. The board finds that the proposed variance will not substantially adversely affect the laws, provision for health, safety, and security. Strict compliance would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss in the level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the law. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance for Chapter 6(1)(b) of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Sections 30 and 31, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Number 1, that the hardwired interconnected smoke and carbon monoxide detectors are installed and located throughout the building as required by current code. Number 2, that the property owner shall have the city of Schenectady perform a formal test of the installed interconnected alarm system to ensure all alarms are properly communicating and installed. Number 3, that the property owner shall hire a third party and independent code certified inspection agency to test the alarm system annually at a minimum and shall submit those inspection results to the city of Schenectady Building Department. The inspection reports shall also be left on site and be readily available for inspection. And condition number 4, that any entrance door and every door opening into any entrance hall, stair hall, or other public hall connected therewithin shall be self-closing. This concludes the conditions. Do I have a motion from the board?
This is Laura, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Kuhn seconds it. At this time, I'll pull the board. Mr. Ellis?
Yay.
Ms. Ryder?
Yay.
Ms. Combs?
Yay.
And I also say yay. That's 4 yeas, 0 nays. The variance is now granted. Furthermore, the decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. Very good. That concludes the hearings for today. Let's go off the record.
Off the record.